I do a fair amount of thinking in the kitchen as it happens, and one of the things that I've been thinking about with this house project now that we're almost at completion is much of the process of renovation, of new builds as well, anything to do with building, is often you have a problem and then you're looking for a solution. So there's a challenge and then there's a resolution to that challenge. And I want to pick out a couple of those kind of challenges that we've had in a house like this. It's a 1905 villa. They weren't big on insulation, so not particularly warm in its original state. So that's my challenge. The house is uninsulated. In this house, what I've done is we took out what little insulation there was in the existing ceiling and have completely replaced that with Ortex green stuff. I've also used the Ortex insulation pads right through this part of the house because this is 1990s framing. But in the old part of the house where I had timber framing with the sarking, I wanted to leave the sarking intact. So I've used a foam-filled insulation system by Heat Savers in there. Underfloor, I've done again with the Ortex insulation, the Ortex green stuff underneath there. So what I've done in effect is created what we're looking for in houses, that thermal envelope. I've done the ceilings, I've done the walls, I've done the underfloor, I've created a thermal envelope. That's the solution to the insulation problem. The other problem that I wanted to solve is what do I do about heating in this house? Now, it's not a particularly big house. The entire footprint is around 95 square meters. Most of the house is open plan. Yes, it did have a chimney. Yes, it did have an open fire. But in terms of its everyday use and also its efficiency, they're not the greatest form of heating. So the solution in this part, for the open plan part of the house, is to put in this ASEA fireplace. It's a gas fireplace. It is really, really efficient. At 7 kilowatts, it will easily heat 80 square meters. So one fixed form of heating in here solves that heating problem. I've also introduced underfloor heating into the bathroom as well. So we've used the warm-up system in there. And one of the things I really like is because there's always moisture in the bathroom, by keeping the temperature up there, we're actually controlling that moisture, keeping the warmth. The heated towel rails help with that as well. So fixed form of heating in here, heating in what can be a cold and wet space like the bathroom through the underfloor and the heated towel rails gives me really good heat right throughout the house. One of the other problems that we have in New Zealand, which is a combination of how we design our houses and the climate that we live in, is issues around moisture and getting moisture under control, getting it out of our houses. Now, one of the things that creates a fair amount of moisture in New Zealand houses is the washing machine and then the dryer. So we've got the washing machine down here, I've got the dryer here. They're in the kitchen space because it's a small house, and this is a fairly typical solution to issues around space. What we've done in this instance, I've done two things here. At the back, I have a fan. That fan is connected to a circuit relay that runs back to the distribution board. As soon as I turn on either the washing machine or the dryer, that extraction fan, which goes straight up and exhausts through the roof, will come on, and it will stay on for as long as either of these two appliances run. The other thing that I've done is I have connected the ducting to the dryer, which is really important. That is connected to the extraction as well. So while the dryer is pushing all of the exhaust out, it's also then being assisted and drawn out of the building through the shortest possible distance by the fan that I've got in there. So extraction in this space is dealt with by having that fan system. It's also extraction really, really important to the bathroom. Often they're not in the right place and they're not big enough. So let me show you what we've done. In this space in here, the bathroom, sometimes people will put the extraction in the wrong space, and I have to be really honest, I used to do this. I always thought that if it's right above the shower where you're creating most moisture, that's the most effective position for it. But in talking to a few experts, realised that putting it in the middle of the room actually gives you better flow. So in this space here, good size fan located in the centre of the room, relatively short run to the soffit, and I've put in a really good sized extraction on there as well. So it's going to draw all of that moisture out of that room. And also you need to allow for airflow in. So if the door is closed, there's a sufficient gap underneath the door to allow air in, or one of the things I love about double hung sash windows. In this bathroom, during summer, I can just drop that top sash down a little bit. That will give me some airflow into here. This is a bathroom, that manages the moisture really, really well. So downstairs in the bathroom, we had a look up on the ceiling and we could see that grill. What's really, really important with any of your bathroom extraction is that it actually goes somewhere. It's not just drawing moisture up into the roof space, which so many of them do. In the bathroom, we could see the grill in the ceiling. That's connected to the ducting, connected to the motor, little piece of ducting, and then I've changed the shape of the ducting in order to get me out into the soffit, because that's often really tricky in confined spaces to get that extraction to go to outside. It is absolutely critical that any extraction from wet areas, bathrooms especially, is ducted directly to outside. I've gone for a really good size motor, 150mm diameter, plenty of flow. It's going to work really, really well. So in this old 1905 cottage, this is the original part of the house, but even that wasn't completely original. So I had some bungalow doors, which arguably weren't here when the villa was first made. And then even in this house, I had some villa architraves on the inside and a bungalow architrave on the other side of the door. Had villa skirtings in the room, bungalow skirtings in here. Because it was a little bit of a mishmash, I've decided to go for a consistent architrave and skirting profile right through the house. So what I've done is I've replaced all of the architraves and skirtings in this, the original part of the house, and then I've chosen a profile which I've had made and specially run that is reflective of the old, but it's also contemporary enough that when I come into the new part of the house, it works for this modern joinery. So front of the house, I've got almost 100-year-old double hung sash windows and maybe 80-year-old bungalow doors. Then I've brought through the skirting detail, the architrave detail, and then when I come out to the back of the house, now this part was added on sometime in the mid-1990s, so it's not part of the original fabric of the house. It's not something that I've done, but we needed to bring this together with the rest of the house. And by choosing an architrave detail like this, and then putting in this case, we've made up a sill that's slightly similar to the villa windows at the front of the house. A double hung sash window always has this kind of chunky sill profile. So I think what it does is lends and draws these two elements together, and that really, really works for me. The other key component to working out that how do I join the old and the new, the 1990s to the 1910s roughly together, is by bringing that flooring right the way through. So we start at the front door, which isn't too far away, bringing this French oak matte flooring all the way through to the new joinery at the back. Arguably, aluminium joinery at the back of the house seems a little bit controversial. My thinking about it is that, hey, let's not pretend that this is part of the original fabric of the house. It most definitely isn't. It's different in terms of its form. I know that it was built later. So I'm quite happy to say this is in effect modern and this is more heritage. I'm going to go with modern joinery here, but I've taken the time and effort to find some old double hung sash windows to add back into the original fabric of the house. And I think that by paying attention to the detail there, we've been able to draw all of this together into a cohesive whole, which I think is really important. One of the other real challenges for the house in deciding what we were going to do is, do we keep the chimney? And you know, there were some practical considerations around that. They take up a fair amount of space. In its original state, it had framing and lining all the way around it, so it appeared much heavier than it does right now. So given that we were going to gut the house anyway, we pretty much stripped out all of the lining, exposed the original chimney, and then worked through what am I going to do with it. In this instance, once we decided to keep them, and I'll show you why we kept it in just a moment, in this room here, I wanted it to disappear. Now that's really hard given that it's hundreds of kilos of bricks sitting right in the middle of the room. But what we've done is I've cleaned up all the bricks as best I could. Then we've had a rock coat render applied, and then I've simply gone over the top with the same resin half merino color in the wall that we've used on the walls everywhere through the house. And I think that it's there as a feature, but it's not dominating. Now, Same chimney extends through the wall into the living room, but on that side we've treated it differently. So coming around to this side, same chimney, the bedroom is just beyond this wall here. We're treating the same chimney but in a different way. Undoubtedly, one of the things that convinced me to keep it is that we could fit a good size ASEA fire into this space, so it made sense to keep it from that point of view. And then the other part was, what am I going to do with it? Same thing as on the other room. If you look at the ceiling there, you can see that's how big all of this framing used to be. We've stripped all of that back, we've brought the wall lining into the chimney itself. I've had a rock coat render applied over the brick because, to be honest, I wanted to lose the orange of the original bricks. And then once we'd applied the render, we both looked at it and went, actually, you know what, we kind of like it. It feels really honest. It's a chimney, it's old, we've done a render on it, and so we've just simply applied a resin clear coat over the top of it to make it more durable. I think it's been a really good solution. It's a practical one, but in terms of the design, the feel of the space, it works really well. It anchors the room in a sense, and I like it. So the dilemma was, do we keep them or do we remove the chimney? I'm pleased that we've kept the chimney and we've made it useful and functional by adding the fire, and I think we've treated it in a way that is respectful of the heritage and the fact that it's been here for over 100 years, but it does feel contemporary by adding the render to it. That's the solution. It's fair to say that most of us in our houses have more things than we have places to put them. So we're always looking for clever solutions to storage, and I was doing exactly that with this Huis Project. Once we got up here into the attic space, I realized that, gee, there's a reasonable amount of volume up here. So what we've done in here is I've put in some strong backs, I've doubled up the existing ceiling joists with new LVL timber right next to it. We've laid a floor out and created some clean, dry storage up here and made good, safe access via the Selwood attic stairs. It's a really good solution to storage issues in some houses. So earlier on we were talking about insulation in the house, and up here in the roof space you can see what it is that we have tried to achieve, and we have achieved it. So first up, clean out this space because it's an old house, there's a lot of dust in here, and then we've laid the ceiling insulation inside the gaps in between the existing ceiling joists, making sure that it extends all the way out to the top plate, and then right underneath the storage area I've made sure that the insulation is continuous through here. It will make a great difference to how this house feels, both summer and winter. Storage is, I suppose, a number of things. One is the storage that we showed you up in the attic, and then the other part of storage is, what do you do in the bedrooms? Particularly, relatively small house, relatively small bedrooms need to get some really efficient storage in here. When I'm doing wardrobes for my projects, I always want to take them right to the ceiling. It gives you some useful space up there. It stops that being a dust trap. And that's good storage for suitcases and maybe winter duvets and that. And then inside, good storage, well organised for clothing, for t-shirts and various bits and pieces in the drawers. I think in this situation the bifold doors work really well. I know that sliding doors are an option as well, but in this space, given I don't have a lot of room with the bed and space in front of it, the bifolds work really well. And I ended up getting my kitchen guys, T Brothers, to organise these doors for me as well. Sent them off to the spray painter and matched the half merino that I've used on the walls onto the doors here. The other thing, just a pet peeve from me, I reckon if you're going to spend the time to take your wardrobe to the top, which is great, redo that detail. So if you have a look at the ceiling, I've cut back the original battens and I've taken that Scotia detail all the way around. It finishes it, it resolves it, it makes it look like it was always here and like it was supposed to be. The architrave detail that we've used throughout the house, really simple, butting it together, leading that round neatly, gives a really clean, simple and hopefully stylish finish. Practical and really nice to look at. In this little segment we've looked at, I suppose, what are typical problems or challenges in a house and some of the ways that I've tried to resolve them here in this host project. So whether it's around the heating, whether it's around the extraction, whether it's around the design and the cohesiveness of the whole building, what we've tried to do with this is be critical in our thinking, identify what the problem is, and then think of a solution that's going to work for us. There may well be other solutions for you, but for many of us, the challenges are the same. How do we draw the house together? How do we work with heritage? How do we create a cohesive whole to our projects? And more importantly, how do we create warm, dry, comfortable homes?